from the Disney Princess Storybook Collection. This is Tangled, the Sweetest Day Ever. Rapunzel was having the best birthday of her life. She'd finally left her tower. She and her chameleon, Pascal, had made some new friends, like Flynn, the well-meaning thief, and Maximus, the noble horse. And in a few hours, she'd get to see the floating lanterns she'd always wondered about. Before the lanterns, they had time to explore the kingdom of Corona. Since today was a celebration of the lost princess's birthday, the whole town was out on the streets for the festivities. Rapunzel had never met so many interesting people. There were musicians playing lively tunes, kids drawing with chalk, and all sorts of street vendors selling goodies. Rapunzel found she had plenty to talk about with all of them. "Hello there," called a man behind a fruit stand. "Crispy, delicious apples? They're straight from my farm." Rapunzel bounded over to greet him. "They certainly look tasty," she said. "What's it like owning a farm?" Further down the road, Rapunzel struck up conversation with another street vendor. "Wow, are those your paintings? What brushes do you use?" "I know a fellow artist when I see one," the painter said, and the two started chatting like old friends. Suddenly, Rapunzel and Flynn heard a commotion coming from a shop behind them. The sounds of crashing pans and loud voices erupted from an open window. "I have half a mind to call the palace guards," a voice cried. Rapunzel wandered over to the shop. "Hey, it's a bakery," Rapunzel said, noticing the sign outside. She headed for the door. What was that about the palace guards?" Flynn asked. He knew the guards weren't that good at hunting him down, but he didn't want to walk straight into their arms. "Besides, I don't even like cake," he said. Despite Flynn's protests, Rapunzel followed her curiosity inside. Her eyes were immediately drawn to the lively argument in front of her. "I'm sorry, but we're all out," said a small man crouching in fear. "How can you be out on today of all days?" the flushed baker demanded, waving her rolling pin as the dairyman shrank back. "How am I going to make my famous lost princess cupcakes without milk and eggs?" Rapunzel stepped over to them. "Wait, you don't have eggs or milk?" "That's right," the baker responded, her eyes narrowing suspiciously at the unfamiliar blonde girl who suddenly appeared in front of her. "I can help. Stay right there," said Rapunzel, running out of the bakery as fast as she could. The baker and the dairyman turned to stare at the man left behind. I guess I'll go help her," Flynn said as he darted after Rapunzel. First, Rapunzel rushed back to the farmer's stand. Flynn, Maximus, and Pascal all raced to follow her. "Hi again, Frank. I need some of your finest." He nodded, and Rapunzel grabbed as many apples as she could carry. Then she stopped by the artist. "You don't have any unused paintbrushes you could spare, do you, Felix?" Rapunzel asked. Soon, girl, boy, horse, and chameleon were back at the bakery, their goods in tow. The baker showed Rapunzel into the kitchen, curious about what the girl was going to suggest. She was so intrigued that she didn't think twice about the large horse and the bright chameleon peeking into her shop. "You don't need eggs or milk," Rapunzel announced, pulling out some pots and pans. "You can use applesauce." "Applesauce?" repeated the baker. "Yes," Rapunzel said, and she taught the baker her favorite way of quickly whipping up some applesauce. In no time, golden, fluffy cupcakes were cooling on the counter. "And now to add a little pizzazz," Rapunzel said. She grabbed one of the borrowed paintbrushes and started decorating the cupcakes with bright, colorful icing. The baker inspected Rapunzel's work with admiration. "You saved the day," the baker said. "Cupcakes for everyone, even you, Lester," she said, eyeing the dairyman. She handed Flynn a basket filled with the beautiful sweet treats. Rapunzel and Flynn knew just where to take them. Saving the lost princess cupcakes had been a team effort after all. Frank loved the sweet taste. Felix loved the decorations. "I think I'll try one too," Rapunzel said, taking a cupcake out of the basket. Suddenly, Flynn jumped, his eyes wide. "Run!" he shouted. Rapunzel turned to see a throng of guards heading in their direction. She squealed and they sprinted away, darting through the crowd. Finally, they found a hidden corner, holding their breath as they watched the guards run past them. When the coast was clear, they burst out laughing. "I sure have worked up an appetite," Flynn said, taking the cupcake Rapunzel offered him. "I thought you didn't like cake," Rapunzel teased. "I'll make an exception this time," he said, tipping his cupcake toward Rapunzel and taking a bite. "Wow, that is delicious." "Thanks," Rapunzel said, tucking into her own. They looked at each other for a moment, and both felt themselves blushing and grinning. As the sun started to set, Rapunzel thought how truly sweet the day had been. And it wasn't over yet. Soon, it would be time to see the floating lanterns with her best friends at her side.